Hi everybody, it's Lana here from Alana Fitness and Nutrition. I've got Joe with me. Hey Joe.
Hello.
So Joe's come to the end of her Curvy and Courageous program, and she's actually been coaching with me for an entire year, which is amazing. And we have just spent a good part of 40 minutes reflecting on her journey and where she's been and where she's at now. And it's been an absolute hell of a ride. So that's what we're going to share today. So back a year ago, Joe, we had like a free 15-minute session, and then we had a 1 hour session, and I wrote loads of notes and we uncovered loads of things, and you were in a bit of a tricky place. So describe where you were at and how you were feeling.
Um, it's so hard looking back now to recognise everything that I felt a year ago, but I had tried every kind of diet that there was, intermittent fasting. I've been calorie counting for ages on like crazy low calories, restricting everything. I'd just been diagnosed with binge eating disorder, which was my third eating disorder, really bad body dysmorphia, hated how I looked, didn't want to all my clothes were so baggy because I just didn't want to show anything of myself. I felt self-conscious eating in front of people because I thought people would be judging me and be like, oh my God, is she eating that? Yeah, really low place. Found it really hard to enjoy anything because I felt like people were looking at me and judging me and my body.
Yeah. And you were in a real place of like binge restrict. So you were doing a lot of
Massive.
secret eating, and
Yeah.
yeah, there was so much going on there. You were also drinking alcohol like virtually every night.
Every night.
Yeah. And you were having like lots of fizzy drinks, and
Yeah.
the kind of knowledge around food. There was, like basic knowledge, but it wasn't how to serve you and your body. It was all coming from a place of how can I restrict this as much as possible. And you were in a lot of resistance. You were like, I want washboard abs and I want to be this weight. And when I get down to then I'll be happy. And I remember having to break it to you that like, A, you might not be able to get there, but B, even if you did, you're not going to be happy.
I
And
did believe you.
and our first session that we had, I put your calories up, didn't I? So I worked out that you were only eating like, I don't know what it was, 1,400 calories or something. And I was like, you were doing a lot of exercise at the time. You're working out like 4 or 5 times a week. You were doing a lot of HIIT, like kind of obsessive. And I was like, we
Oh,
need to put your calories up. And I remember you like kind of kicked off a bit, and I said, do you trust me? And you were like, no.
no.
And I shared this with Joe before, and Joe knows this already, and so this isn't going to shock her. But I remember the first couple of sessions. I don't take everyone on as a client who I speak to. I'm really selective. And the first couple of sessions, I remember thinking, I might have my work cut out here. Like this could be a real pain in the ass. But I saw I saw in you what I had changed in myself. Because a lot of the stuff that we were working through and the feedback that I was giving you, we had so much mindset things to work through. And I think you were really in a place of victim mentality, and that everything was happening to you, not for you. And you were quite draining instead of radiating, which is not who you are now. And it was like, it was challenging to for both of us to coach through that, but you persevered, and you just, yeah, the transformation has been absolutely incredible. And reflecting on who you were a year ago to who you are now, what's been like the biggest change for you, do you think, in your life in general?
I think it was when I came to you and said, I think I'm done losing weight. I
Yes.
know I'm not on my target weight, but I'm happy with my size now. And
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to hate who I like my body anymore. It's
Yeah.
just draining. It's too much. So I think I'm good. And I never thought I would say that. I always thought I thought I'd hit my target weight. And then I'd be like, oh, but Lana, let's just go a bit more. Let's just do a bit more. We could do a bit more, you know. And I really thought that that would be our tricky point.
Mm.
Because even my husband was like, I'm going to tell Lana when enough's enough, and I'm going to make Lana say, you can't lose any more weight. Because everyone thought that I would get there and I'd be
Yeah.
sort of verging on the unhealthy, still wanting to lose weight because of the
Yeah.
body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
So to then be like, actually, I wanted to be a size 10, 12. I'm a size 10, 12, the scales don't actually matter that much.
Mm.
Who is she? Where did
Yeah.
she come from?
Literally, who is she? And that's what happens when you do this from a place of like really leaning into your body and what you want and who you are as a person, and unraveling all of the mindset, psychology, routines, and habits part of it. Because there's your other half, Phil, in the background going, I'm going to have to tell Lana when enough's enough. Lana sat here going, we'll find when enough is enough, because there's not a chance I'm going to let her, like get really restrictive or build all of that back up. And everything that we do together on our one-to-one sessions were unraveling that bit by bit. And often you'd come to a session and you'd say something and I'd be like, I've been waiting for you to say this, or like I knew this was coming, but I was never going to put words in your mouth or tell you how to feel. All I was there to do was just to coach you and guide you and like gently nudge you in the direction of where I thought you were already going, which you were. And even that in its own, of you coming to that session being like, don't think I want to lose any more weight. We then had a whole other identity crisis behind that, which was, who the fuck am I if I'm not losing weight? All I've done my entire life is hated my body and lived in resistance. What do I do now? I don't want to lose any weight. So then it was like refinding yourself as this woman now. And you're also so much more like grounded and more chilled. And you're not even calorie counting now. Like, we've weaned you off of calorie counting. You weigh in once a week. Like, it's all very chill and like calm, and you're just so much more happier.
So definitely. And I think this has really given me that safe space. Like, we both know you've joined a call with me and been like, why is Jo in floods of tears? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And it was just having that safe space that was like, there was no fear of judgment. If I had a weight spike of even like 1 to 2 kilos, because I'd had a massive Chinese and probably blown 4,000 calories, I never had to join a call going, Lana's going to kick off. Lana's going to be like, what are you doing? Because it is like, everything's allowed. And I know you say that and you said it at the start, but I don't think I actually believed it.
Yeah.
Because I thought even in the first few weeks, if I had a spike, I'd come to the calls going, she's going to be so mad at me. Like, she's going to say something. And there is almost that shame around it, and having the freedom to break that down and be like, actually, there's no shame in a Chinese. Maybe not every night, but it's and just not having that judgment over anything. I mean, we discussed everything, and not just weight loss, but life and career and the lot. And never at any point did I feel judged or ashamed, or like I couldn't be open about how I actually felt. And I think that's quite rare to have now. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. And that's amazing to hear, but also like really sad that the default in the diet industry is like shame and guilt, and you go to an expert and a professional and you still expect to be shamed. And even when they're saying, I'm not going to do that, your default, that fear and restriction in your body is like, I've done something really bad, I'm going to get told off for it. But like you say, I've given you like the space to just unravel as you naturally would, and fucking hold that space for you to do that in a completely non-judgmental way, and then see where it takes us. And you've had so many things over the last year. You started a new job, you moved house, like, a couple of hours away, didn't you, from where you were? Like total
about an hour away.
You've had a lot of family things going on, like just been so much that's happened in the last year, as it does. Like, no one goes a year without anything. There's birthdays and all sorts going on, holidays and everything. But you've navigated all of that, and we've navigated it together, but also helped you in all of those other aspects too, because it was all part of the bigger picture. You were kind of feeling at the bottom of the funnel, so to speak, really restricted, and you're back up against the wall with who you were, how you felt about your body, your weight, everything else, with no wiggle room, because no one had looked at all of the bigger stuff. Like, why did you feel that way about your body? Like, whose beliefs were they? Like, I don't think they were yours. They've come from like childhood and, all of those things. And we've really stripped it all apart. And you're just, so completely different now. So if you had any advice for anyone that was like sat on the fence or was like, I'm not really sure, about the program or about Lana, what would you say?
Just go for it. It's so easy to say though, because it's so scary.
Yeah. Well, you were
Um,
really scared at the beginning because you originally signed up with me for like a slightly lower package. So we'd
yeah,
signed up to like only have a call kind of every 6 weeks, and you only signed up for 12 weeks to start with. And then I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks in, you kind of paid a bit extra to have some extra one-to-one calls with me. And then you were like, fine, sign me up for 6 months,
yeah,
like one-on-one every week. I need the whole shebang. And so,
yeah.
you were really skeptical at the beginning. I remember like on
Oh,
the call,
massively.
you were like, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure about like what my husband's going to say and everything else. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing, I
Mm,
think. And as a mum as well, like investing that money in me,
yeah.
purely me.
Yeah.
I think it has benefited the whole family because I am so relaxed. We can go for ice cream and it doesn't matter. And we had cupcakes at a barbecue at the weekend, and that's fine because
Yeah.
there's no bad food. And I never actually believed that ever. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, no bad food, whatever. Cake's not great. Oh my God, it is. Cake is great.
And
But again,
that's,
just not every day.
yeah, exactly. Everything in moderation. Well, it's been an amazing journey, like the last 12 months. And also, I just have to say, like, thank you so much for being a amazing client. Like that first 3 months, it was tough. Like there was a lot of coaching, there was a lot of breaking down your own kind of thought processes and
Yeah.
limiting beliefs and getting you to see things. And kind of transforming you from more of a victim to victor and drain to radiator like personality and things like that. But your transformation like speaks for itself. You've turned up to every single one of our sessions, all of the like even the free coaching that I do for like my Facebook group. Like all of the information anyway because I coach it directly to you, but you're there with bells and whistles on, like I want to hear it again, I want to learn it again, I want to hear if it like lands differently. So you're a real testament to your own journey, and I feel honored that I could give you the space to become this incredible woman. And that
Oh,
I've also gained a really good friend out of it as well, because I get to meet you for the first time in person
yeah.
next week.
So excited.
Very exciting. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey. And if anyone watching this is feeling like how Jo was at the beginning and you're super overwhelmed and you're like, I just don't know, what to do, reach out, have a conversation. I'm not scary. I promise. I'll just hold space for you to be the woman that you're supposed to be and want to be. So thanks so much, Jo. And I'll speak to you very soon. See you next Friday.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.